Hello, my name is Derek Martel. The subject of my paper and this presentation is encouraging vaccination. Vaccinations are obviously an incredibly important topic and subject, and we're seeing an increase in the requirement and relevance of vaccinations in today's modern world. In the past, with certain high-tier jobs, we've seen requirements such as extensive medical histories, including vaccination records. And we're now seeing that sort of trickle down to the medium and low-tier jobs, where even there you're being required to show these vaccination records in order to prove that as an employee you are good and safe to work in an environment where you're going to be around a lot of people to avoid, passing on communicable diseases and whatnot. And this sort of goes into public schools and private schools as well, where your children are being required to receive even basic vaccinations such as measles and mumps and rubella, where you're just trying to avoid the risk of children passing on diseases to each other in such high population areas. And a lot of us, having been vaccinated, probably wouldn't consider the fact that there are two sides to this issue. There is a small minority of people that do not want to vaccinate their children for whatever reason, and there are a couple reasons that they list. The important part is that 90% of children that need to be vaccinated are, and it's those 10% that we need to worry about for obvious reasons, because the handful can ruin it for the bunch, sort of. And what's important here is I'd like to try to contradict some of the things that some of these people think, these anti-vaccinators, if you will, contradict some of the points that they make in general. And one of the things I've come across in my research, having read several stories about individuals who grew up unvaccinated in their childhood, one particular story gravitated to me in the form of Amy Parker, who grew up unvaccinated. She sort of had this health nut mother, as she referred to her lovingly, who, they ate only, organic, homegrown vegetables. They had no MSG in their diets. They drank raw milk. They exercised vigorously as children throughout their childhood years because of this lifestyle their parents kind of gave to them. And despite all of that, Amy was, inflicted with several of these illnesses, including measles, mumps, and rubella, that are preventable by vaccination, which is a little bit ridiculous. And, to kind of build on that, even into her 20s, she was diagnosed with precancerous HPV when she had children at the time. And she sort of had to look at them and go, you're trying to make the decision to tell them, Mommy might not make it. And that's, terrifying that the decisions of our parents can affect us for so long, especially in the form of vaccination. And while she didn't express, hate for her mother for the lifestyle, she really was appreciative of the healthy lifestyle. She just wasn't necessarily happy with the fact that her mother chose not to vaccinate her because she ended up with all these illnesses. And that's sort of a commonality we see in these children that are vaccinated, is they end up sick a lot. And that's the reason we've developed vaccinations over time, is so that we can kind of sort of avoid and get rid of all these illnesses, as well as avoiding communicable disease. So that's very interesting to me. In addition, the anti-vaccinators like to focus on certain ingredients in the vaccinations that have the potential to cause harm, or they like to think cause harm for whatever reason. One of those, and this is a huge part of the anti-vaccination movement, we might call it, is a particular chemical that was in booster shots in the past, and it was in some individual shots in the past as well. That is known as thimerosal. It is a mercury-based chemical. And the problem that they have with this is that mercury is poisonous to humans and is known to cause a lot of problems in humans, though this is only mercury-based. And we have since the 70s, with vaccinations constantly developing, we've sort of reduced the use of this thimerosal significantly to now where it is only used in very small, confirmed non-harmful portions in certain specific booster shots. And it's important to realize that these people, the anti-vaccinators, sort of try to link thimerosal to causing autism. And the CDC has come out, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, has come out and said, there is no link between any vaccination and autism. This has been completely debunked by every bit of research that has been done so far. And that is further backed by statements by the FDA, not only agreeing with the CDC, but sort of going out of their way to talk about these manufacturing companies go to every length possible to increase the safety factors of these vaccinations. They look at every ingredient, to make sure that they're safe for human consumption at the point of vaccination, and really are just trying to prevent disease in general. And you know, there are people that might say, well, you know, the CDC and FDA, they could have a stake in this claim. They could be, you know, making money. They could be in bed with the manufacturing companies of these drugs. And you know, looking at the cost of some of these drugs, a flu vaccination, the average flu vaccination is $35, give or take a few. And this is just not a large amount of money. I don't think it's a concerning amount of money. And to further, you know, rebuttal that point, most vaccinations are covered by most health insurance plans. So the large majority of us are not even paying out of pocket for these things, which is very interesting that, you know, people are taking issue with these particular things. We shouldn't be talking about, I don't believe we should be talking about the benefits and risks. I do not think we should be weighing these things particularly, because the benefits are almost, you know, so the benefits are so much that are almost to a fault. There's so many benefits compared to such low risks on most of these things. We're talking about, you know, 99% to 1, and in most cases even lower. I think the most important thing that we can do is, you know, sort of look towards, you know, these bigger organizations and certain doctors to, you know, correct the spread of information, the spread of correct information among the media, and you know, kind of debunk a lot of these fear tactics. It is the average doctor visit for these vaccinations is, you know, a 20-minute endeavor where the doctor sort of, you know, just vaccinates you, watches you for 20 minutes or so, and then you leave. It is that simple. And what we could have is, you know, a doctor, you know, answering parents' questions, or you know, a public campaign where we sort of spread this correct information about vaccinations, talk about the positives. There are some negatives, maybe we could talk about those, but we just need to get the correct information out there so that we can up the rate of children being vaccinated to further avoid these issues. And that sort of, you know, gets around to my point. Vaccinations should be, you know, heavily encouraged, especially as we go into a world where the population is constantly increasing and there's more people than there ever were. And we need to worry about things like this in order to prevent the spread of communicable diseases. We constantly have new ones coming up. Vaccinations are constantly being developed to combat that and improving on the ones in the past with new research. So I think that it's very important that this information is, you know, talked about. Individual research is encouraged. I encourage everybody to read both sides of the argument, because there are two, and, you know, sort of develop your own opinion. And there are some, you know, more valid arguments on the other side that I won't go into now, but just it's interesting to read the thoughts of these people, and I think that they would encourage a decision either way. That'll be all for me. Thank you.